Pam Bondi, Donald Trump's very corrupt attorney general, was too scared to show up at a press conference when the indictment of Don Lemon was announced, and said she sent Todd Blanche, the deputy attorney general. You see, on Friday, the Department of Justice was also releasing they claim they were releasing the Epstein files, but it seems that they would just release 3 million of the 6 million documents, and it had all sorts of incoherent, inconsistent, and violative redactions. And so it seemed that Pam Bondi wanted to avoid being asked any questions. And I think Pam Bondi, frankly, is terrified about having to testify in mid-February before Congress, where she's going to have to justify and speak about the atrocities that have been committed under her watch, from covering up child sex trafficking rings to weaponizing the DOJ against Comey and Letitia James, and in putting Lindsay Halligan in place, Donald Trump's messages to her on Truth Social, directing her to do things, and her saying, I, Captain, I'm going to do what you want me to do, Donald. And then her social media posts. I mean, I think it's just going to be brutal when she has to show up for testimony. And I genuinely think that she's like, I know people who know her, and I'm not just saying, oh, she's scared and panicked. I think she's actually truly scared. I mean, she made this bizarre selfie video of herself when she announced the indictment of Don Lemon. That's just such a strange thing. Like, if you're the attorney general, you show up, you stand on business. If you think it's a high profile thing, you show up, you hold your press conference. You don't just pawn it off to somebody. Watch this weird, it almost looked like a hostage video she was creating of herself. Let's play this clip.
Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership and this administration, you have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
We are coming after you. I'm Pam Bondi. Then she posts, at my direction early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon, Trahan Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamal Liddell Lundy in connection with the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. More details soon. And she made it clear, it's at my direction, which, can I just pull back for a second and say how unusual that would be for the Attorney General, the top law enforcement officer in the United States of America, saying this is being done at my direction, but not the direction of the Minneapolis federal prosecutor's office and the United States attorney's office there, and based on a thorough investigation at your direction as the AG, being ordered by Donald Trump to do it. And then Donald Trump's White House makes posts mocking Don Lemon, saying, when they give you lemons, make lemonade, or whatever it is. And this was after you all filed a criminal complaint against one of the protesters there, and then did AI videos to manipulate the way that she looked. And then just the language that used, the coordinated attack on City's Church. What coordinated attack? Here's what I saw. I saw protesters in the church. Were they being disruptive? Well, hate to break it to you, protests make people feel uncomfortable. Can I tell you what feels more uncomfortable? Being shot in the face by Border Patrol, Gestapo, and being killed, as they've killed numerous Americans and numerous people in this country. So protesting the fact that people are dying in detention centers, being tortured on the street, being sprayed with carcinogenic gaseous substances, being brutalized, being killed, yeah, maybe people felt a little comfortable. So for feeling uncomfortable, would you say, hey, maybe it's disorderly conduct? I don't know. But the federal act called the FACE Act, which deals with physical threats and physical intimidation, which was actually a law that was passed because you had individuals, terrorists, standing outside of reproductive health care centers and shooting and killing and beating down women who were trying to get abortion care or get health care at women's reproductive rights areas. The bill that led to the FACE Act included aspects of, well, if the same type of conduct occurs in a church, it'll also be a crime, the same type of crime, in order to make this bill a bipartisan bill, but it requires physical force or physical threats of intimidation, not being loud or obnoxious or protesting. So set that aside. I think it's a difficult case against the protesters and the activists. I think that they get a not guilty. But then you bring Don Lemon and you bring people like Georgia Fort. Now, we'll talk about Lemon in a second, but Georgia Fort is a vice president of the National Association of Black Journalists, 15, 20-year career in journalism, award-winning journalist. And she and Don Lemon and the others were there filming what was happening. The Trump regime has turned our cities into a war zone, and effectively independent reporters have become like wartime correspondents, like being in a war zone, because that's what the Trump regime turned Minneapolis into. It's like being a wartime reporter in Fallujah. So Don Lemon, Georgia Fort, they were, as journalists with their First Amendment rights, taping. In fact, while they were in the church, Don Lemon said numerous times, I want to be very clear, I'm not with them. I'm here as a journalist. Then when one of the people who worked at the church touched Don Lemon, even in kind of like a way, like not like a threatening way, just kind of touched them like, listen, let me explain to you. Don Lemon's like, please don't touch me. Let's talk about what's happening here, but no touching. And then Don Lemon asked questions like a reporter would ask. There's no crime being committed here. And it's the most offensive and absurd thing that took place. And then when you get into At My Direction, and then Pam Bondi had Don Lemon arrested in Los Angeles, thrown into a prison in Los Angeles. They tried to stop him from being released, and then he had a fight to basically get released on his own recognizance. So you have Pam Bondi making that tape. Then you had this cabinet meeting. Let's play this clip where Donald Trump refuses to call on Pam Bondi and refuses to call on Kristi Noem. Let's play this clip.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Mr. President, one question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press.
Bondi there when she wasn't called on and Trump cut off. He called on the other cabinet members and not her. And so she's like, I got to prove myself to Donald. I got to prove myself. Look what I'm going to do. Let's bring in Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds podcast, Talking Feds Substack. Harry, they did bring out Todd Blanche. Okay. I just want to show you this to react to. They brought out the deputy AG to hold the press conference all by himself. And Harry, usually in these types of press conferences, if you're doing your big high profile one, you're flanked by FBI and you're flanked by all of your U.S. attorneys and the AUSAs. Everybody's proud to stand up with you and stand on stage. But this is what Todd Blanche did as Pam Bondi's making selfie videos. Here's Todd Blanche.
On Epstein, sir, if I may just ask one on that, please. You mentioned a letter to Congress. How and to whom did you notify the White House about the production that you're announcing today before you came out and spoke to us?
How did I do what?
Notify the White House. What was your interface with the White House? You said there's a letter to Congress. Who did you update at the White House about this?
Well, I don't know. I don't really understand the question.
Harry.
He's flummoxed, right? Oh, yeah. May I jump in?
Please.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, what about that, right? She doesn't even understand why the import of the question. Bondi. And I want to combine the two strands of your excellent summary there, Ben, because on the one hand, February 11th, she has a little date with Congress. If she does do her sort of truculent, screw you, you piece of crap, Congressman, she's got a lot of splaining to do, and that'll be hard. But the pressure she's operating under, it seems to me, is she's been widely reported to be in Trump's doghouse. And so she definitely wants to, polish the apple for the maximum leader. Don Lemon, what could be better? And using a statute that, as you say, is really about violent interference with the rights of reproductive health patients and bringing it to church services. And then it's all part of Minnesota as well. Remember, she went there over for 2 days. The attorney general herself, who, as you point out, the attorney general does not handle individual cases. She's there personally. Is it to talk about Preddy, say, and how to handle that? What about good? No, it's all this church thing, which if you